It's been a long time coming, but this week I asked for your help in finding some videos, short clips where theists come out with sublimely dumb things, and we, of course, react. So here is the very first Theists Say Stupid Things. And believe me, there are some doozies. Hello, I'm the Skeptic, the British floating circle that watches people make extraordinary claims, and then I explain why I don't accept what they're saying. Maybe you agree with some of those things. Theists spout ridiculousness sometimes, and so I've put together a collection of some of those things in the first Theists Say Stupid Things on this channel. A big thank you to those that helped out with finding some clips. Keep an eye out on the community tab for your input on the next episode. However, before we discover what dumb things are said this time, if this isn't your first Skeptic video, hit the like, the subscribe, and the bell, and you'll hopefully discover more atheist content on your homepage. And a super thanks to those that hit super thanks in some recent videos. Flaxvert, Godless Blessings, Twice, That Gut 2375, Toodles the Bud Guy, Damien the Freak 666, and KE6NBER. Lisa the Rainbow Giraffe bestows leaves upon you all. More hen. I'm excited for this one. Let's go! With Ben Shapiro speaking incredibly fast, so maybe no one realises how silly the things he says actually are.
What is your favorite argument for God's existence and why?
So my favorite argument for God's existence is that I believe in free will.
It always baffles me that theists believe in a free will. Isn't the God supposed to know what's going on at all times? That would mean that free will for theists couldn't exist, since the God knows what's going to happen before it happens, unless, of course, the God doesn't know, in which case it's not much of a God. So that's stupid.
Okay, the reason that I think this is an argument for God's existence is because if you believe that human beings are essentially just balls of meat wandering around aimlessly in the universe, the kind of Spinoza's stone that thinks that it was moving of its own accord but actually was thrown, if you believe that and you don't believe in free will, then there's an internal coherence and logic to it. If you believe that you have the ability to make independent choices, that you can actually supersede your own biological drives and the environment around you to any extent, even to the smallest extent, this means that you believe in something that can't actually be proved by science, but that you are living every single day.
I think free will definitions are getting muddied. I don't accept a biblical free will, in that some supernatural force allows this walking meat package to make its own choices, but I do think I could decide not to buy milk tomorrow based on my observations and requirement for milk.
And the notion that you have that will, and not only that you have that will, but that will is capable of comprehending the universe around you, that your will is sort of, your ideas, your ability to comprehend the universe is a reflection of a reality, of an objective truth that is out there, that says to me that there is a God, there's a common source that stands behind that objective truth and stands behind the mind that can comprehend that truth.
Well, it says to me that my brain understands things and doesn't require a predetermined force to explain it. Just because you, Ben, can't understand how it works, and to be honest, I don't know much about it all either, it doesn't mean you get to say that there must be a being there to explain it. Stupid! Also, slow down, Shapiro, my brain hurts. Then there's...
A barber was once cutting a man's hair, and the barber said, "I do not believe in the existence of God." The Muslim asked, "Why not?" The barber said, "There is so much misery and chaos in the world. If God existed, this mess would not exist." The Muslim said, "I also do not believe in barbers." The barber asked, confused, "What do you mean?" The Muslim said to the barber, "Do you see those men outside with long hair?" The barber said, "Yes." The Muslim said, "If barbers existed, people with long and messy hair would not exist." The barber said, "We exist, but people do not come to us." The Muslim then said, "Exactly. God also exists, but people do not turn to God for guidance. That is why there are so many problems in the world."
That's a terrible analogy, since first off, barbers are actually demonstrable. People can have their hair long too, even after a barber visit. And then, of course, it suggests that the God would stop bad stuff happening if folks believed. So the God is a horrid being that only does good if you give it what it wants, or bad things don't happen to actual believers, which we know is a lie too. That's all stupid.
I was challenged by some atheists one time when they said, "Let me ask you something, Eric. Would you behave differently if you didn't believe in God?" I said, "Absolutely. I mean, you'd have to make sure the jail cell could hold me because I'd be trying to break out, man. I would do anything under the sun if I truly believed that there was no God and there were no moral absolutes."
What the actual fuck, Eric? The only reason you don't do bad things is because you think there's a sky being there to punish you if you do? That makes you an incredibly person. To be honest though, Eric's dad does crappy things even though he thinks there's a god. Hence this picture. I really hope Eric never stops believing in a god if this is the case. I murder and rape as many people as I want. I just don't want to because I'm not a
I said to the atheist, let's say there was 2 islands. Both of them are full of savages. On one island, your friend goes and he crashes and they kill him and they eat. And you go to another island and they want to kill you and eat you, but they don't because it's against their religion. Did God save your life? He doesn't even know the name of their God. But their God said, don't kill shipwrecked survivors. And now you're alive. So their God saved your life. The concept of God in and of itself saved your life. Just for the concept of it, the idea of it.
What if there was a third island that believed in a god, but they believed that their god was one that told them to eat any outsiders? The concept of the god would then have got those outsiders killed. This analogy does nothing to prove the existence of a god. It just proves that concepts are a thing. Sorry, Tate, that was stupid. Then on to how some folks think that atheists believe aliens disprove a god. What?
What's the best objection you've heard from atheists about why the existence of extraterrestrial life would disprove Christianity?
Hang on, when was extraterrestrial life proven? Did I miss something? Well, this is a video about Pentagon leaks, so I guess that's what they're saying has been leaked from the Pentagon. I don't know. I guess newscasters around the world must have not cared about something this major.
Well, they have several. The least convincing is the one about, well, it's not in your Bible.
Sure.
We've already talked about that. The second one would be this. Science is showing us that it's a tiny little planet in this vast universe.
Yeah.
And you're really saying you've got a special relationship with him.
Yeah.
Which, of course, you say, as writers have during the history of this debate for centuries, wait a minute, value is not determined by size. And
Can I interject something there? I believe C.S. Lewis addressed this as well. He said that an atheist looks at the vastness of the universe and concludes that God must not exist because, as you say, we can't possibly be special. But he said, but if the universe were quite small, surely atheists would say if God existed, you would expect a much grander universe.
Yes.
So,
Surely, and this is probably the more accurate, atheists would say, you claim there's a God. I don't accept your claim, so please demonstrate your claim. The size of the universe has nothing to do with the existence of a God.
you're kind of damned if you do and damned if you don't.
It is. And with this, the same kind of thing. So you think this little ball of rock in the middle of all these billions and billions of light years of things is that he's actually going to pay any attention to what you're doing or you or that kind of thing. And again, if you understand the faith from the inside out, you say, that's not an argument at all. In fact, it's our claim that we are special. If he really did come here, that it's proved by that all these other possibilities out there, and yet he still suffered and died here on this planet.
But doesn't it say in the Bible that it created Earth before all the stars and stuff? If anything, it didn't come here, it made it. So that doesn't work.
That would be like another analogy I'm thinking of is suppose alien life does exist light years away somewhere. It would be like them saying, do you really think if humans existed, they'd be concerned about us that far away on that little planet? It's like, well, maybe. It turns out they really are. They're doing a podcast about it right now.
We make so many assumptions, really, about these kinds of things or about God's nature. So they would do that, and I think, again, that's rather easily used. One writer about it several centuries ago, I had so many in the book, I can't keep them all straight, but, made this comment about how, there's a sense in which this great glowing gaseous ball of fire that we call a star is magnificent and great. Everything is, on the big scale of things, is still not as valuable as a single human soul. The sun will die one day. The sun will burn out. The soul will still be existing.
That's a pretty big claim. You'd need to demonstrate that there's even a soul, first of all. And secondly, we kind of need the sun. Once our star dies, who knows what will happen to our planet? You don't get to just assert that that's what happens when you actually have no idea if it happens.
The fetus aborted will not... Yeah.
Yeah, it'll still be there.
Yeah.
I have a question that's kind of related to the whole...
Just so you know, Neil talks to us in the end.
Sorry.
And that's totally normal.
But, so I've heard before there's the, I don't remember what this is from, but the whole, aliens, it kind of implanted the seed for humanity or abducted an ape and gave it rationality, stuff like that. That, to me, doesn't seem very compatible with Catholicism.
Yeah, what about that?
Yeah.
That's a good point.
The whole
I would agree.
trained us to gold, that kind of thing.
So there would be certain parameters if you're going to remain a Christian.
How that could be come in, and at the same time, I would say, oh, really? How would you prove that?
Oh, They do know how to use that sentence. How ironic. How come they get to assert things like souls living on forever, but then make out it's dumb for an advanced life form to find a planet that can hold life and then plant life on it to see what happens? I mean, I'm not saying that happened either, but it could be more likely than an invisible, undemonstrated God, since we know that life evolves and has technological advancements. We're proof of that.
You have, there's one...
Certainly, if that were true, that would disprove Christianity, though.
Unless, and I don't want people to take this wrong, unless there would be some way to argue that that's how God did it.
Yeah.
But I don't think so.
That feels like a stretch,
But you have people who
but
say
Neil,
that
one that's not a stretch is just the idea that there's an alien civilization that sent out a bunch of microorganism seed bombs.
Oh yeah, fair enough.
Bombed a ton of planets with
that's
that.
the notion of panspermia, that we actually all have the same origin of life. And there are people who say, no, that couldn't possibly be Christian. I'm open to the possibility.
Well, being open to the possibility would mean that, if it was proven, your God would be redundant. If you're already part of the way there, why not question if your belief in a God is sound and then find ways to prove the God?
But you bring up a good point, Neil. Like, there are certain parameters as a Christian that we're going to want to have as we talk about aliens. So what would some of those parameters be? So if you're going to remain a Christian, what are some things that you can't think is true about aliens, if that makes sense?
I would say, number one, that they were not made by God.
Wait, aliens were not made by God? How does that work? I thought that God was the creator of all. That would mean that it's not as powerful. Man, I hope aliens do exist and visit our planet now.
Okay.
He's creator of all. Number two, that if they need redemption, that it doesn't involve God.
Hang on, aliens don't get the same perks as believers? What the funk? And I bet they don't get treated the same way as non-believers from Earth. Oh, you're an alien and don't believe in a God. Not surprised. You're probably quite intellectually advanced since you travelled across the universe to get here. Oh, you're a human that doesn't believe in a God. That's because Satan has a hold of you. Well, if humans or aliens didn't believe in Lisa the Rainbow Giraffe, leaf be upon her, she wouldn't give a rat's backside because she's not needy enough to have everything believe that she's real. Unlike some other gods we know.
Is there anything about anything non-spiritual that that could be posited about aliens that would disprove the Christian faith?
I don't know, disprove it, but the kind of thing that Neil just mentioned, to try to say that humans are actually created by a reptilian race. I usually think they're reptilian.
Yep.
And you see that and you say, no, I don't see how those could be compatible. And people listening to me that believe in it are going to be angry at me, but I think that's kind of a fringe thing. That's not central to the UFO discussion.
Am I the only one that thinks he's mumbling some words so we have no idea what he's saying? Here, Paul, give me some proof of a God. Well, and that's how we know a God is real. Oh, good. That clears that up then.
You have folks, there's one guy who's, by his own admission, formerly Catholic, and he was in the CIA and claims that high-level folks in CIA and, told him at one point that this is true and that we have this whole line of hybrid reptilians who are now the elites controlling the world. And obviously he's not Catholic anymore. He talks about it as a past thing. And I can say, okay, if you really believe that, I could see why you wouldn't be. But so things like that, some kind of claim, like I was saying, that God didn't create us, but that there's no God and we are created by this alien life that came and tried to manipulate.
We couldn't
as
go
Neil
there,
said that it's because you're saying they are creators and not God. Now, could life have come on a meteorite from another planet where God? Maybe so.
Why is it so hard to imagine that aliens made humans instead of a God? Now, I'm not saying either is true, but why can't a believer accept that they got it wrong and that it was aliens? Why does it have to be a God? Why couldn't it have been the life-creating pixies? Why couldn't a rock have crashed into Earth carrying tiny little alien creatures that built life and then died out? Why couldn't Lisa the Rainbow Giraffe, leaf be upon her, have pooped all life into existence?
So, and we know that the story of Genesis it's real and it's historical that he did have, first humans and created life here. But
we know that it's historical. I'm sorry, but no. The story of Genesis is a story at best. It's never been demonstrated to be historically accurate, especially the whole light before the sun ridiculousness.
The language is so poetic and figurative. It's a wide range for how he might have done it. The church's whole discussion with Darwinian evolution has kind of demonstrated that something we might not have suspected about how God did it Could very well be the case. It doesn't change the fact that he did it.
They'll absolutely find any reason to say, nuh-uh, it was God. And that's absolutely dumb. How can they not see that any other ridiculous claim is equally as ridiculous as their claim? It's stupid. And finally, an older video that has how a die can show God exists. I already feel stupid just with the title.
Some people say that human existence is a result of a roll of the cosmic dice.
Who says that?
Like the gambler who stakes his life savings on the next throw, we just got lucky in the lottery of life.
Yeah, more like the results of some chemical reactions that led to all this.
Some people say there's no purpose in the universe, no grand plan, no God behind it all. Our numbers just came up and here we are. But I don't believe them, and nor should you. If I roll this dice, the chances of getting a 6 is 1 in 6. That's not too bad. But what are the chances of me rolling 6 twice in a row? Well, the odds get longer. It's 1 in 6 times by 1 in 6. That's 1 in 36. So I'd have to be pretty lucky to get 2 6s in a row. Now, every time I add the chances of rolling another 6 in a row, the odds go up exponentially, and it gets even more unlikely. Now, what if I rolled this dice 70 times, and every single time I got a 6? Okay, that's pretty unlikely, but it's possible, right? Well, in fact, the chances of rolling a 6 70 times in a row are around 1 in 10 to the 55. That's a 1 with 55 zeros after it.
Thanks for that. My stupid atheist brain didn't realise that's what it meant. Obviously, I'm kidding.
Now, just to put that in perspective, how long would I have to stand here rolling this dice, allowing about 5 seconds per roll, before hitting that lucky streak and rolling 76s in a row? Well, I had a mathematician friend work it out for me. On average, you would have to continually roll this dice for 100 trillion, 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 trillion years before your numbers come up. That's a long time. What if you applied that thinking to us? What are the odds of us being here? Now, the odds of rolling 76s in a row, 1 in 10 to the 55, as it happens, those are the same odds of something called the expansion rate of the universe being just right for the existence of us here today.
And if conditions were different, who's to say life wouldn't just be slightly different? That's just the odds, maybe, for what we currently know. But the odds for some life forming in other conditions could be considerably shorter, so...
From the moment of the Big Bang, when our universe began to rapidly expand, the rate of that expansion was exquisitely finely balanced. Any faster, and the universe would have expanded too rapidly to allow the formation of chemicals, atoms, stars, and galaxies. Any slower, and the universe would have collapsed back in on itself. But as it happens, the universe expanded at just the right rate to allow for life to develop in the future, for us to be here. It hit 70 rolls of the number 6 in a row, first time.
Well, no, it just did what it did given the laws of physics that are understood. There really is no way to know if it's likely or unlikely because there are forces at play. It just happened.
And the expansion rate of the universe is just one among 30 or so other incredibly sensitively finely tuned constants and fundamental forces in the universe.
Most of which aren't actual forces.
That must be just the way they are for the universe to be able to produce us.
The universe didn't produce us. We're more a byproduct of the existence of stuff.
So let's imagine, if I went ahead and rolled this dice 70 times, and what do you know, every time it came up 6. No waiting for trillions upon trillions of years. First time. Beginner's luck? Hardly. You would assume that I must have rigged it. Maybe the dice are loaded. Maybe there are 6s on every side. It can't be chance.
Or, it absolutely can. It's just a slim chance.
Now let me ask you, why would we assume that this universe with us in it, which is actually way more improbable than my 70 rolls...
I thought you said it was the exact same amount of probable. Moving the goalposts, are we?
...is just a result of chance. The fact that we're here shows that someone's loaded the die.
No, it absolutely doesn't. It just shows that chance is random, and here we are.
In fact, maybe there's no dice at all. What if the evidence points to this life-permitting universe actually being the product of an intelligent mind which intended for us to be here?
Well, that's a huge jump. How do you get from random chance to must have been a god because my brain can't fathom random?
Now, you could come up with some speculative other theory. Maybe there's an infinite number of universes, giving you an infinite number of chances to roll the dice.
And why is that so ludicrous?
Maybe. But we don't have any scientific evidence for it.
We don't have any scientific evidence for a god, but we know universes exist, so it's way more plausible for a universe to come into existence than for a god to have done it.
So if you're hanging your hat on that possibility, then you're every bit as much committed to a faith position as the person who says God was behind it.
No, because faith is what's used in the absence of evidence, and there's evidence that a universe exists, so...
Believing in God isn't a delusion. It's a perfectly reasonable conclusion when we look at the fingerprints on our universe. And if it's true that we aren't just the fluke result of a cosmic roll of the dice, and that we're actually here because a grand designer intended us from the very beginning, well, that's worth staking something on.
Is it though? And there are how many potential designers? You have way worse odds of picking the wrong designer and then going to hell, right? That's pretty stupid if you ask me. And there we have it. Theists saying stupid things. I definitely would like to explore more of these, so send me videos on Instagram or Twitter for the next instalment of Theists Say Stupid Things. Did you find any of this stupid, or were some of the things convincing to you? Let me know in the section below. Skeptic that as more stupidity dealt with. A big thank you to this month's top-level ticks on Patreon. Godless Granny, Addy Rockart, The Enixes, Jakari, Whiskey Tech Fred, and the Absolute Lunatic Travis, as well as all the $3 base ticks. You can become a supporter on Patreon too at patreon.com/theskeptic. The link is in the description, along with links to all my other socials. Don't forget to hit the like button and subscribe if you haven't already. From me, the Skeptic, stay safe, keep thinking logically, and ask questions. Skepticism is the first step towards truth. See you next Saturday.